Most of us have grown up with wonderful cartoons that we have watched every Sunday morning, for example, on Cartoon Network, Boomerang and other channels. These were amazing shows like The Flintstones, Tom and Jerry, Inspector Gadget, Courage the Cowardly Dog, along with loads of others. They're not shown as often today, but they shows have truly great quality to them with excellent humor and graphics. That's why it can be mind-twisting when we start to think about and read about theories about these shows. Some are far-stretched, while some make almost too much sense. Here are my 5 favorite scary theories about our classic TV shows. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I did not like this show much to begin with when it first aired, but it really grew on me and I loved it in the end. The show is about a world where kids can bring their imaginary friend to life, and when the kids grow up, they adopt their imaginary friend to Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which is run by an old lady named Madame Foster. Madame Foster is full of life to be that old, but to help her she also has an imaginary friend, Mr. Hurryman, along with her granddaughter Frankie. So what is this theory about? It has 2 sides, one of them being that Frankie herself is in fact an imaginary friend and not a human, created by Madame Foster herself. This can explain why Frankie and Madame Foster is wearing the same, or at least very similar clothes. Frankie is a younger, imaginary version of Madame Foster. But there are some holes in this theory, since Frankie has both been on a date and also owns a driver license. This is where the second side to the theory comes in, where Madame Foster is dead, and the Madame Foster we see is in fact an imaginary friend created by Frankie. This could explain why Madame Foster is so full of energy all the time, meaning that this house actually belongs to Frankie, and the real Madame Foster has been dead all the time. Aladdin is a wonderful film and show. The Aladdin movie is one of my favorite Disney movies ever, as it's both beautiful and exciting with full of humor, music and life in general. In Aladdin you have this boy called, well, Aladdin, who lives in the street of this fictional town of Agrabah, who falls in love with Princess Jasmine. Along the way he stumbles across a magic lamp holding the awesome and fan favorite Genie, who can do pretty much everything. At the end of the movie, Genie is set free and is no longer stuck with any master or in his magic lamp. This brings us to the beginning of the movie. Here we see this salesman who shows up with the lamp, and he starts eventually to talk about and tell us a story about this lamp. And the story is the rest of the movie about Aladdin, Jasmine, Genie and everybody else. This means that pretty much everything after the very first minutes of the movie is just a story that we are being told. The theory is that the salesman is the Genie, somewhere in the future. Both have red bands around their waist, both have similar beards, both are voiced by Robin Williams, and both only have 4 fingers, unlike everybody else in the movie. It's believed that this is Genie in the future, telling us about his adventures with Aladdin. Edd, Eddy was one of my absolute favorite shows as young. The show has excellent humor as well as a very welcoming and pleasant art style. The show is about some kids living in a neighborhood where Edd, and Eddy are the ones that the rest of the kids hate simply because of their pranks and personality. Edd, also known as Double D, is the careful and smart one. Edd is the stupid one, and Eddy is the greedy and cocky one. Everything seems fair, right? Well, what if none of these kids were actually alive? It's speculated that Edd, and Eddy, along with the other kids, are in purgatory, a place you go after death before you reach a potential heaven. It's supported by the fact that we never see any adults throughout the whole show. We hear about them for sure, but we never actually see them. Furthermore, people have speculated when the characters could have died in this life, based on their personalities. Like Eddie dying during the Great Depression in the 1930s, explaining his greed for money. Or Edd dying during the Second World War, explaining his love for comic books. Each character has a detailed explanation to them, and each of them seems very logical and very believable. The Kanker sisters, which everybody is scared of, especially the Edd trio, is said to be demons, since they can appear anywhere and people are scared of them, and they go after the weakest ones, in this case the Eddies. Could this be a bit far-stretched? Or could it be possible? If you ever watched Samurai Jack, and if you're like me, you found the show to be a bit weird, because of the small amount of dialogue, as well as some freaky characters now and then. The show felt overall a bit odd. Samurai Jack is about this samurai who fights against Aku, a demon-like creature who wants to take over the world. Aku is then able to send Jack into the future, where Aku is now ruling the world. Jack now needs to find his way back into the past to defeat him, thus saving the future. Now, another show with similar art style is the Powerpuff Girls. This is about 3 girls with superpowers who were created in a laboratory by Professor Utonium, who live in this town of Townsville. Monsters frequently appear, so the girls use their superpowers to save the days. But what if these 2 shows were in the same universe, and heavily connected? It is believed that the events in Samurai Jack is the result of a timeline where the Powerpuff Girls failed, and where Aku got to power. In the Powerpuff Girls series, there is a demon named only as him. Having a name like that sounds to be more of a nickname than an actual name, meaning his real name could very well be Aku. Yes, it's theorized that Aku from Samurai Jack and him from the Powerpuff Girls are the same creature, and after sending Jack into the future, he came to Townsville to stop the Powerpuff Girls from ruining his plans. It's a scary coincidence that in Samurai Jack, in one episode, we see a post-apocalyptic town that looks very much like Townsville. It even has this dog sign in both shows. In one episode of the Powerpuff Girls, the girls travel into the distant future only to find the town being in ruins where him now has the power. Are all of these coincidences? Another side to the theory is that Samurai Jack and Professor Utonium are in fact the same person. Looking at their design, they look fairly similar. In this theory, the Powerpuff Girls have died, and he now has to take on the battle against Aku/him himself, resulting in the events of Samurai Jack. Something more to back this up is the fact that we never get to hear Professor Utonium's first name, meaning it very well could be Jack. Illuminati theories. These theories are about cartoon shows that predicted tragic events in the future. And some of them are so accurate, it is in fact truly scary and frightening. This is Johnny Bravo, a very humorous show with a strong man who always tries to charm women. This is a clip from an episode, and if we pause it right here, we see a poster in the window with a picture of a burning tower with the letters "Coming Soon" on top. The scary thing is that this episode aired only a few months before the 9/11 tragedy happened. Or what about this page in a Donald Duck comic book from the late 90s? He, MacDuck, says that his 2 twin towers will soon be destroyed, and afterwards he calms down and says that it could be a nice tourist attraction, which happens to be exactly what the twin towers from 9/11 is today. Here's a clip from an episode of DuckTales, and hidden in the background, away from our focus, is a poster that reads, "Ask about Illuminati." It's these coincidences in these friendly kid shows that makes them a lot more frightening and mysterious. Were all of these events planned? Or are they just coincidences that we shouldn't think about? What do you think? I want to thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you had a wonderful time watching this, and I'd love to hear your opinions on these things, or maybe your own theories as well, in the comment section below. If you want to, you can check out my channel to see if you see things you like there, and if you like it, you can feel free to subscribe. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.
I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win.